Today we have a special music. I mean, they're always special. That's why we call them the special music. But this one is extra special. The debonair dandy of Draglesque, Nick Lacey, is dapper as hell and will charm you heart and soul. This properly fabulous and queer performing artist is an international and award-winning burlesque draglesque performer, producer, and writer from Portland, Oregon, performing femme burlesque also as Lacey Knightley. They produce multiple shows a month, and their next production is Cinemalesque. Is that Cinemalesque? Cinemalesque, a burlesque tribute to film on August 14th at the Alberta Rose Theater. When is it? August 14th. If you have questions, you can talk to them about it after the service. Welcome to Park Rose UCC.
I'll do my best. But today's people's testimony is from Chris Clark. What drag taught me about Christian ministry. When I refer to ministry as drag, I need to clarify the performance being demanded. This is not about fakery, but discerning what is performed for liberation and what is performed as a result of oppression. Drag is the most theological phenomena I can think of because it exposes the scripts that shape us: gender, class, race, ability, and uses exaggeration to reveal the truth and dismantle the lie. It does not invent a new self, but magnifies the one already there, crowning the too muchness we were taught to hide. It speaks truth to power. It is prophetic. Today's Christian traditions ceremony is from Galatians. For in Christ Jesus you are all children of God through faith. As many of you as were baptized into Christ have clothed yourself with Christ. There is no longer Jew or Greek. There is no longer slave or free. There is no longer male or female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus.
Thank you, Bruce. So, you've heard many times how much I look forward to these services. This one especially so. So, those of you who have not seen me do one of these for a while, you may be wondering, why does he have his phone out? So this isn't for me to text, but rather to keep track of time, because I can get pretty chatty. So I'm setting a 30 minutes reminder on there, and I'm not going to be playing Angry Birds or anything while we're talking. Now, I had the privilege of being able to share a brief bio on you, and I'm so appreciative that you can come and join us. Gail and I have been talking about this service for a bit too. How would you like to introduce yourself to all of us?
Yeah, you guys can hear me okay. My name's Gail. I'm the village manager at the village over there. And I also am a drag performer, drag and burlesque performer in the area as well. I do femme persona and a drag king persona as well. Drag is very important to me, and I'm also a non-binary queer person as well. And those things are a really important part of my identity as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Nick, is there anything else we should know about you before we begin?
Well, I am also a non-binary queer person, and I have 2 kids. I have a daughter, my trans daughter. She is 18, going into an art school in the fall, and then I have a 21-year-old son. Those are big, important things in my life, too.
Congratulations on getting them to official adulthood.
Yeah.
It's no small task.
It never ends, though. I'm still parenting.
Yeah. I hear some other folks in the room who relate. So I think it would be helpful if we had kind of a baseline understanding for those of us who've never been to a drag performance. What is drag, and what is drag performance?
So to me, I would say like drag is a performance of gender, of someone's like view of gender, or just like how they identify like with like a specific character in the world. It's just a performance, and there's a quote from RuPaul that basically says like you're born naked and the rest is drag. So it's just talks about like the performance, the performative nature of dressing up or getting ready or putting on makeup, performing gender and things like that.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. For me, it's a place that I can express my gender identity, being gender fluid. I have days where I feel very feminine, days where I feel more masculine, and I can mix it all together in drag and feel free.
Yeah, thank you. And you are you're both drag and burlesque performers. I think these are categories we get confused. How are they different from each other?
Yeah, I'd say they're different. There's a more there is like a reveal component to burlesque usually, and that involves usually taking off clothing. So that is not needed in drag, but sometimes there's drag-lesque performances where people do that. So I'd say it just is a different type of performance. It also is rooted like drag in like satire and like political commentary. But I'd say that the like main differences are probably a reveal in burlesque, or like a more kind of like sultry, kind of feeling.
I want to also add, burlesque is also known as the art of the tease. So you could even possibly, I've seen many performances where they actually are not taking anything off per se and just teasing you. And that is a type of burlesque, and burlesque definitely is started as a mockery comedic art form way back in the 1800s. So, and it's just come to today where it can encompass so many different kinds of performing. We could have, very sexy act. You could have a very sad act and moving act that makes you cry. Comedic, all different types of genres in burlesque, and as well as drag too. But you can totally put them together as well.
Yeah.
So I didn't follow like hair rock or hair metal very much, and I may be getting my categories wrong. Dan, you might need to let me know afterwards. But like Alice Cooper is heavily influenced still, right, by burlesque, right?
I'm not sure. I actually don't know.
I know a lot of the hair band from the 80s and so forth, in the 70s, Kiss, that Queen. Yes, they're all definitely influenced by drag, I would say, with the big hair, big makeup, that sort of thing, for sure.
Yeah, kind of the subversive aspects of it. Yeah. So you're also with a specific organization, and I besides WeShine, and I feel like I wouldn't be doing my due diligence unless I gave you an opportunity to say what that organization is and what you do.
Yeah, so I do something called Kitten Collabs, which is so my burlesque and drag name is Kitten Around. And so I bring teachers in from out of town who, like I give them opportunities to make a little more money. I do focus on marginalized groups that may not get other opportunities, so they come and teach. I just had a performer named Actin Up come and teach us some back shoulder rolls. I'm very, very sore today from flipping all around and stuff like that. So I have those every few months, but it just helps people kind of like develop their skills, and also helps build community.
Yeah. And so you're a drag producer within that organization, right?
Oh, I do produce. Yeah, I do produce some shows too.
Is that another aspect of the background? So if people are interested in the background of drag, they can talk to you about it, and you can help get performances out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Nick would be able to as well. Yeah, let me talk to people about that.
All right. So, how did you get involved in the drag community? And this question's for both of you.
Yeah. I've been performing my whole life in various aspects: singing, dancing, acting. I've just always been a performer. There was like early memories and pictures of me. I would always wear a tutu, like wherever I went. I had my mom put like taps on my shoes, and I would steal the stage. Like I'd just go on stage. There's like pictures of me being escorted off stage, like in a tutu. When there's another dancer, like a performance going on, and I'm just on stage at like 3 years old, just dancing in my tutu. So it kind of was like a natural progression. I started doing a lot of work with the Clinton Street Cabaret for the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and a lot of people that do that shadow cast like eventually kind of like go into drag or burlesque. So it was just something. Burlesque was on my radar. I had actually seen Nick Lacey a long time ago. They were like one of the first performances I saw, and they were on my Facebook for like 13 years or something. Like they're just like floating around in the background until I like finally took a burlesque. I went through it like a burlesque school when we used to have the burlesque Rose City School of Burlesque. So once my schedule cleared with school and once I was able to afford that class, then I and I started like right before the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, I had to, like really find like wherever I was able to perform, which was like there was only one place that blocked off the streets to perform. And so I was performing like in my living room, like in the like doorway of my kitchen. I made it look like a stage, and I would basically like apply to every show I could, and just kind of built myself up through the years.
So for me, I again was also very theatrical as a kid. I did a little bit of theater, but I was more in dance. So I was on the dance team in middle school and high school and so forth. And I became a teacher. I taught kindergarten through fifth grade for 16 years. So actually, my very first, other than like a Siegfried and Roy, like showgirl Las Vegas show I saw with my mom when I was probably in middle school, and just love the costumes and the theatricality and so forth. My first just regular burlesque show was when I was 38. I am 53 now. So when I was 38, my partner, my husband, and I got to go out on a date. We had little kids at the time, and it was a big deal because we had not been out for a very long time. And so he said, let's maybe go try this burlesque show. And so we went, and it was a small little thing, only 6 performers, and it was an underground, a little club, and I just loved it so much that I went and talked to the performers afterward, and I said, where did you learn how to do this? And so they told me the Rose City School of Burlesque. And so I decided that I wanted to save up money to take classes, and the classes were 10 weeks long, and you had a class once a month for once a week for 3 hours, and you learned about history and makeup and movement and costuming, and you got to put together your own act, and then you learned an act with a big group, and at the end of the 10 weeks you did kind of a public recital and so forth. So for me, I think it was I was 39 when I did it, or almost 40. It was probably a midlife crisis maybe sort of thing, or a bucket list kind of thing too, where like I'm a writer also, so I thought, well, maybe I'll write about this experience someday. So I did the whole thing, fell in love with it, and just never stopped. So here I am. So I'm 53 now, and it is my full-time job, and I produce multiple monthly shows. I'm at Alberta Rose Theatre, which is a big 400-seat theater, and I have shows there at least once a month. I have shows at the Victorian Bell Mansion, dinners and brunches, and I'm in a whole bunch of other shows, and it just pretty much took over my life. But it helped me so much, helped me with my gender identity. I knew I was bisexual and queer when I was younger, but I hadn't come out to my partner until when I was 38. Right at that time, I came out to my partner too. It just changed my whole life and just gave me so much freedom to express myself, and that's kind of how I got into it. Mm-hmm. And the drag happened right at the same time. So,
right.
Yeah, burlesque and drag together.
Thank you. So you talked a little bit about the why, and I appreciate that. That's actually my next question, and I guess it's going to go to you.
Sure, yeah.
Of all things, why drag performance in particular?
I think with drag and burlesque, like society tells you that there's certain people that are allowed to take up space and how much space they're allowed to take up. And so if you are like a person of color, or if you're like a bigger bodied person, or a queer person, or a trans person, or just any of these kind of like groups that are told that they're not supposed to take up space, they're not supposed to express themselves, they're not supposed to feel joy. That's the joyous part of performance is one of the most important parts, because no matter what administration we have or what's going on, people cannot take away your joy and like your ability to express that joy in whatever way, and for me that is performing. And so it helps with my coming into my own with my body and my gender, and it's just like a really really great. And then you get to experience it with the audience. Like the audience reacts, and like you get to kind of feed off of them, and really like it's just a really like enjoyable experience. And I think I was leading up to this like my whole life, and like once I arrived at Dragon Burlesque, and it happened at the same time too. It just kind of naturally happened. But once I arrived, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be, and this is the type of performance I'm supposed to be doing, because it can encompass so many aspects. You can have like boas and fans and just so many different things.
Yeah. Dwayne, who I mentioned at the beginning of the service, talked about, and Dwayne would tour as Champagne, perform as Champagne with Darcel, in the James, the late 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, right? And so saw a lot of evolution in the community, and a lot of change in Portland. Used to travel internationally, and I asked Dwayne, why this? And he said, because I just love being able to share joy with people. We don't have enough joy in the world. I just want to make people smile. And I loved that so much. Dwayne was he was married to Bill, and Bill was always the chattier one in this kind of space. And someone pointed out, well, when I was new here, one of them does drag performance, and I was like, well, it must be Bill, because Bill like just puts himself in he takes up like the limelight whether he wants to or not. He just enters a room, and people just flock around him. And then Dwayne's like, oh, it's me. But you're so quiet. And then I got to know him. I'm like, well, it's not really the case. But I think he found a sense of like liberation in that space too. So a lot of what you're saying really resonates with that. So speaking of liberative and liberation, you mentioned like you're able to take up space in a way that like society in many different forms has said, no, actually you're not supposed to. And it sounds like you've been able to like subvert that power and that expectation, be like, well, I'm here.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I have some acts where I literally take up a lot of space. I have a big costume. I have a huge skeleton. I mean, like I have like like a lot of things taking up space. So it's like sometimes it's like literal, like I am on the stage, I'm taking up all this room, I'm going to use the space, so yeah.
Well, and that makes me think of the political aspects of this, and I don't necessarily mean specific to an administration or anything like that, but these all strike me as political dimensions of existing. And so how do you find drag to be political?
I think it's super political. Just existing on stage like as a bigger person or as a queer person, and showing that joy. Remind me of the question again. My ADHD just got me.
Yeah. How do you?
Oh, how is it political? Yeah. And so it can be political too. Like it can be like overtly political too, with like certain acts. Like there's like performers that do like their acts as like political figures, and like make political commentary. So it can be like overtly political like that, but it can also be just like taking up space, or like feeling queer joy and expressing queer joy, and like just not just in joy in itself, and feeling joy as like a queer person or a marginalized person, or in general right now, is just like it's so important to still be able to feel joy, and be able to express joy, whatever that brings to you.
Yeah.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Also in society, just we've talked about a lot of different things with body positivity and with gender and queerness and so forth, but age to me is a big part of it too, because I'm 53, and there, society, at least in America, some other countries not as much, when a woman or somebody who was born a woman becomes a certain age, we are supposed to disappear.
Mm.
And I just don't believe in any of that. And I don't think any woman or someone born as a woman should have to disappear. We should take up space. We should own our space no matter what. And so part of it is also for me, being somebody who is older in the community. Darcel performed until, the very, very end, all the way into the 80s and, so forth. So that's what I plan on doing. And I think it's important for people of different ages to see themselves up there taking up space on a stage, whether it's in drag or in burlesque as well. I've seen some of the most amazing performers who are in their 80s performing burlesque and performing drag. It makes people cry. There's an actual entire show dedicated to performers of those ages that are legends that are been performing from when they were younger on up in Las Vegas, part of the Burlesque Hall of Fame weekend. It makes people just start bawling to see that. It's so moving and amazing. But also, just even there, it's never too late. So when I took classes long ago, there was somebody in their 60s, 70s in my class that were starting for the first time, and I know many performers who've just been performing a few years who are around that age. So again, you take up that space. It's never too late to own your sexuality and freedom for yourself too.
Yeah. What? And
It's true.
no. Well, and I've got so many thoughts going through my head on this. One of which is it's not like we have a lot of campaigns that are running right now or have ran in the past 5 years on doing these owning this aspect of your identity is what I'm running on. It's more like an opposition to drag in general, and it's always portrayed as draglesque. And at least in my experience, you can't have still people are platforming like, oh, I'm against drag queens reading stories because I don't want them to sexualize my kids. And it's really great to not want to sexualize your kid, and yet what does that mean? Drag queens reading stories are not doing that. But they have in their minds the draglesque, I think, or at least they want to plant that idea in the minds of their constituents. But it also does make me think about the many ways our society and parents, even unintentionally, promote aspects of gender with our kids. And maybe that's some of the fear that some of us carry. What if Timmy wants to wear a tutu? Is that okay? Yeah, it's okay. Now, we don't have a ton of time left. And I've seen a lot of interactivity in this group so far, and I want to make sure we get to your questions before our time concludes. And I know you're going to hang out after the service. Are you going to hang out with us too? Great. So if we don't get to all your questions here, there will be space over there. And I know some of us need some time to noodle as well. So great. Maybe you'll get some noodle inspiration. So Steve, would you mind walking the mic around? What questions do you have for Nick, Lacey, and Gaile Parker? And I forgot your performer name. Kitten Around. One thing, last time we did this, there were some tongue-in-cheek, jokey comments. Those can be hard to interpret up here. It's often in retrospect we're like, oh, that wasn't totally serious. So try to just have your question. Okay. Yes.
Hi there. Thanks so much for coming. My question is, outside of the drag and burlesque communities, because obviously you're going to support your own community members, but from people who are outside those communities, how have you felt support and love, and what can we all do to show that support and love to the Dragon Burlesque communities?
Yeah, I think that you know, if people are able to just like inform themselves on like what drag and burlesque is, so that they can like portray that to other people and their children, because kids love drag, and like drag is not inherently sexual at all. And so it's like, you know, when we're able to do all age drag shows, like drag performers love that. Like and kids just have the best time. So I'd say that's one of the best things, like just making sure you're informed and that you like spread that information. And if you're able to, you know, like if you are able or interested in going to shows too, that's always welcome, or classes that we're teaching, or you know, things like that. I'm sure Lisa or Nick has some.
Same thing. I would. That's a definite big one, though, is to just share that, you know, everything needs to be age appropriate. So drag is the same way. You know, it needs to be age appropriate, and there's complete appropriateness for kids of all ages. And I'm in a drag brunch that's all ages. There are not that many in Portland, and there should be more to help with that. I was a teacher. I love kids, and I have kids. So guess what? I'm a well-rounded person. I can be, you know, over 21 for some things, and, you know, for kids and giving them joy, you know, is a whole other thing. And so helping with that is really would be great. I have in my family, I do not talk to, my mom passed away. I don't talk to my dad. I don't talk to my brother. They don't understand. And my partner, I've actually been married to for 30 years. We got married very young at 22, and his parents kind of became my parents. They don't talk to me about it either, though we are still talking. But his brothers do, and all of my other relatives are very, very supportive. So, so not everybody is supportive in my outside world, but a lot of them are. And so any extra help is great.
Yeah, thank you.
One of the things that this reminds me of is Heathen Brewing over in Vancouver, Washington, had a drag brunch show back in like 2021, maybe 22, and they were heavily protested by the alt-right over there. So after a service, a few of us at the church I was at before this gathered to try to show support for them and brought signs out. Somebody brought a sign saying Jesus wore a dress. I'm like, well, everybody kind of wore a dress, you know. I don't know what else you would call it, but you know. But also kind of trying to remind us of like Jesus is supposed to be God incarnate, and incarnation happens all the time. So God is present with us all the time. God is as close as our own breath. That means God is here, and God is here if we believe in that. And Heathen Brewing doesn't exist anymore. Like, they had a wonderful show of support at the time, and then kind of just lost a lot of their support after that. So if you know places that are hosting, you know, support them, frequent them.
Yeah. The brunch that is all ages is at Clark Lewis, which is a quite nice restaurant, and they do it once a month. So you can check it out.
Thank you. Okay, I think I saw another hand right here. Yep.
I don't know if it's possible to go back to the passage that Bruce read earlier, but there's been some interpretation, the previous one before that, some interpretation about drag being kind of a theological expression, and Giuseppe just said Jesus wore a dress, and I was wondering how you've interfaced with religion and how you've related to different parts of the Bible and kind of religious expression, if you have.
Kind of a vulnerable question. Are you comfortable with it?
I can talk a little bit.
Okay.
So when I was growing up, I was brought up Catholic, but we only went to church at Christmas and Easter. And I had my first communion. I never had confession. And when I was 12, we moved from Illinois to Southern California and went to church a little bit and then just stopped, and I never went back. So my parents were not very religious. My mom was very Italian American, and you just, were Catholic, and so that's what you did. But we never really talked about religion or anything like that. And then when I met my partner, I went to a Christian university, Pepperdine University.
Oh.
And I went there not because it was Christian, but because it was a smaller school. I had some scholarships, and it was on the beach. So I was. So
the important thing.
It was. And so I met him there, and he was brought up Presbyterian. And so when we started dating and then got married right after college, I started going to Presbyterian church with him and his family and so forth. And I never felt truly comfortable. I still felt lost. I hadn't come out as queer to him or anybody else, even though I knew I was. So I have a very up and down relationship with Christianity. And later on, my husband and I just stopped going just because we never really felt comfortable and like we belonged there. So that's me with religion. Also, another part of it is his parents are very religious. They're very conservative. They are not Trump or MAGA or anything like that. Part of I say that is because I think that's what holds them back from understanding what I do or wanting to even talk to me about it. But on the other hand, when my daughter came out as trans, when she was in the 7th grade, they completely enveloped her with love, started reading all the books, started going to workshops, and just really took her wholeheartedly in to accept her. And that is what matters to me the most. And so they tell passages about everybody being loved by God no matter what. And so that's great for her. For them, they won't talk to me about it, so I don't know. But that's how religion has affected me. So I have, again, an uneasy relationship with it because of all that.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, I was not raised religiously. Until I was in college finishing my bachelor's degrees, and I took a feminist biblical interpretation class, which before that time I was not even aware that there was like a feminist interpretation of the Bible.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because they brought in a bunch of women, like priests and pastors, and just like it was amazing. And they came from churches like this who were really open, really accepting, and like I had never seen that before. And so I've really enjoyed working with this church, because it's like I think that this is how it's supposed to be. Like this is how like God views all of this stuff, is really like we're all people. We all need to be treated with respect, like just like those basic spiritual principles that I think kind of like at other churches make it, a little bit kind of misinterpreted. But I really like, the way that you guys do things here. And I feel really comfortable and I feel safe bringing my friends and, other people that, are going to be comfortable and accepted in this space.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we're probably really pushing it on time, and I want to go further. But instead, I'm going to ask if there's anything else you feel like, I got to say this before I vacate this space. I want to just give you the opportunity to do so, and then we'll go back to our seats and start our last song.
Just thank you all so much for having me. It's really awesome to be able to kind of like join both my worlds of like work and then my other work, and then also like what I, drag and burlesque is not just like something I do for work, but it is really something I enjoy and like something that I can, want to continue doing till I'm a legend too. But thank you all for being here and accepting us. I appreciate it.
Oh, our pleasure.
I just wanted to add one thing when you were talking about Dwayne, who used to be here, was the quiet one. Beware the quiet one.
Yeah.
Because I am a quiet one actually too, and I'm an ambivert, which is part extrovert, part introvert. Usually more on the quiet side with regular life. So beware the quiet ones. And thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. All right.
Okay.